So yesterday we finished doing the repairs to our chickshaw so that we could finally move the laying flock out of their winter coop onto the pasture for the summertime. So they're in the back pasture behind the barn right now to work on spreading a lot of the manure and wasted hay from our steer being back here during the winter time. I also did one final power wash on the porch so that it's ready to paint, and our onion starts finally came and they are going to get planted on Tuesday. I talked last week about wanting to just give our porch a little bit of a refresh, and I decided to tackle that by painting the floors. The floors are kind of this dirty orange, pinkish color, and it's got spilled paint and peeling paint all over it. So this color isn't my favorite, but it's something I got just pre-mixed at the local hardware store, and I'm hoping that 2 coats will give it enough of a fresh look to get by for a few years till we can tackle maybe redoing the entire thing. So I got the first coat on Tuesday morning, and the sun was able to dry it really quickly so that I could get the second coat on around lunchtime. While I was waiting for the paint to dry, I tested out the new dibbler that I made last week to plant my onions, and I'm pretty happy with how it works. I think if I was going to do it again and make it totally from scratch, I would make the little tines a little bit longer. They were only about 3 inches, and I think 4 to 5 inches would be better, but it worked just fine. I do my onions multi-sown, so I do 2 to 4 in each hole, and it goes super quickly. I was able to get over 900 onions in very little time, so happy to have those in the ground for this season. I called my neighbor last week and asked if he would be willing to drop off a few bales, big round bales of hay, just because we were getting to the end of what we had stored away last summertime, and the grass still, as you can see, has a lot of growing to do. So he dropped off 2 bales. We're going to work on these for the cows just for another few weeks, hopefully is all, until there's something that is graze worthy. I also really kind of want to wait until our dairy cow calves before I put her on pasture, just to reduce the risk of milk fever like she had last year. Last fall, I planted about 300 different bulbs along this fence line, tulips and daffodils, and I noticed the tulips are starting to poke through, which is so exciting. I can't wait to see how many of them come up, and I'll be even more excited next year when we have the new fence in. So the second coat on at least the first section of the porch. We still have a lot of porch to go, but the first section, I think it looks really good. It covered well in 2 coats, and again, the color's not my favorite, but at least it looks nice and clean now and not flaking paint anymore. So pretty inexpensive and pretty quick upgrade. Now I just need to work on the next section. I'm on the very edge of our property line right now. What we have here is a super overgrown cluster of mainly black walnut trees. It's behind kind of the chicken coop area. When we moved in here, this was like a seriously overgrown mess, and we want to thin out these trees So I'm going to use some spray paint to mark which trees we are going to cull from here, just to thin it out so that way the ones that do stay can actually grow and get a little bit bigger, and then we'll work on cleaning up this ground area. Alright, so I've marked the trees that are going to go, and I thought I would show you. We did the same thing in the back portion of this pasture too last year, and there's a few stumps we got to get rid of still, but it's just so much better and so much more open now that we have them spaced apart, and we can actually get grass to grow underneath there. We still have to obviously burn some of the remnants of that thinning, and I think there's one or two that we've decided that we'll let go, but it's really hard for me to cut trees down. I hate doing it, but for the sake of the rest of the trees and making the space usable, I know it's worth it. So basically how we decide what needs to go, obviously anything that is super close together. So this tree and these two are all only about 3 feet apart. So in that case, the big one stays and these two will go. Over here, there's a few that are dead. So those 3 far birch trees are actually pretty dead. And then this one, smaller one, is also dead. So that made that area kind of easier. Over here, it's a little harder because they're all really good sized. And I hate to kill them, but it will be worth it for the bigger trees to be able to get even bigger. So the ones I chose to say were this big one and this big one. Those two will go, that one will go. This one we'll keep for now, and we'll see. I may end up being willing to let that one go, kind of like I did over there. But for now, getting rid of those 3 will really open up the space for those 2. And then over here, that little one will go, that one will stay. And then we need to deal with cleaning up all of the dead, rotted trees and sticks and junk that's on the ground back here. We had the chickens back here in a Premier 1 fence last fall for almost 2 months, and they really made it cleaned down to the point where we could actually see what we were working with. But our goal is to just keep this area tame for now, and maybe eventually later make it a more specific usable space. But I'm not sure when Tommy's going to get a chance to actually drop those trees, but he just told me to go mark them. That way, if he has time, he doesn't have to wait around for me to go out there and make decisions. So now they're marked, and hopefully we'll get to that before it's too chaotic back there. So another not so great day weather-wise. We didn't do much outside, but later in the afternoon, I did get a exciting delivery, which is a new raised garden bed that I was sent by Veggo Gardens on Instagram. And I decided to have the boys put it together because it would be a good learning to work together opportunity, but also because this is going to be a bed that the kids have in the backyard by their play area, and I'm going to have it be like their snacking garden. So something that they can plant cucumbers and carrots and cherry tomatoes and things that they like to grab and snack on throughout the day. And one more exciting thing, after work, Tommy and his friend went and got our huge order from the Amish of all of the wood that we need for the scullery project and my new fence around the kitchen garden. And then we got a few extra things too, just to have on hand for any other projects that might come up. Thursday was an incredibly windy day, so we didn't spend a lot of time outside. I did walk briefly through the garden and was excited to see that a lot of my seedlings are starting to sprout, and the garlic is finally greening up and starting to really come up out of its mulch. But other than that, and unloading our big wood order off the trailer, there wasn't really much to be done outside for the day, so we mainly just spent some time catching up on laundry in the house and getting school done. Another day of really high winds. I ended up having to go over to our crop garden and fix the tarp that had blown all off where I had it covering, just to kill off some of the crops that I had out there last year. And until now, I've just had the sand right in the bags that I bought it in last year, holding down the tarp, but I decided it was probably time to finally put them in the bags that I bought because the plastic bags are just starting to break open. So I separated a few of the bags into my new ones just so that I had more holding it down. While I was out here, I also noticed that the utility flags are up, which we had requested since we're going to be putting up a fence in this pasture in hopefully the next month or so. And we just wanted to make sure what was there we were aware of so that we didn't hit anything when we're putting posts in. So I saw an idea on Instagram for salt curing egg yolks, and I thought that was an interesting idea. Basically, when they're done and firm, you store them in a jar of salt, and when you want to use them, you just lightly brush off the salt and shred them and add them on top of whatever you want. And they can be kind of cheesy in flavor, apparently. So I thought, since we have an abundance of eggs right now, I would test that out and see how it works. Tommy is off work for the entire week next week, and our goal is to get the new wall up in the scullery and start making some progress on the fence in the kitchen garden. So we're trying to figure out what height we want our pickets to be and how we want to space them out, and come Monday, that will be our big focus and project for next week.